Hey guys, so today you and I are going to talk about toxicity and dealing with it. So let's get into it. So the question in question was, hi Frederick, can you share a specific incident where you faced toxicity at work, detailing the challenges you encountered, and then explains what actions you took in order to improve and or escape the situation? Oh, I have many of those. I've been in quite a few of these situations where I've had a toxic work environment and so forth. I would even go as far to say that I don't think I've ever worked in any IT company where I haven't had at least a bit of friction with at least a few people during my stay there. It's very common, for me at the very least. But I'm one of those people who have a personality where I actually have thoughts on things and I will express those thoughts and I will gladly argue my points in, well, I hope at the very least, a professional way. But as you can imagine, not everybody likes that. It's very common, in fact, that in IT, just as in many other areas of the world, you have people who feel that just because I am your superior, or just because I'm a senior, or because I've been here longer, and so forth, as I like to say, they don't argue from a point of merits or the reasonable, how reasonable their ideas are. They argue from a point of authority, which is super common. I would like to even go as far as to say that it is the argument of someone who has no arguments left. I said this because I am this and that person and I know better. And I ask, okay, but what is yours? What do you suggest on these sort of points? Well, I don't have to have an answer to that because I'm your superior or I am the senior or I think and feel this way. Like it becomes a lot of about feelings and thoughts and so forth. And so if we're going to be a little bit specific, I can pick from a smorgasbord of these situations. So I'll just go with one that happened not that long ago, where I was asked to, and it's basically the same formula every single time. So in my in the recent years of my career, most of the time I'm not hired to just join a product team. I'm hired to provide technical leadership coaching and improvements and so forth. Usually it's about fixing teams, as I like to say, that become a fixer or special forces or like something similar, like where they literally have a problem where they don't trust that the people within the group that is already there has the skills to fix the situation. Like there's unhappiness and tension and things like that from the company. And so what they usually want is to get, as I like to say, an insurance policy that things are going to be done in the right way because they can't trust for whatever reason that it's happening. Usually it's due to that the product owner is unhappy with the communication in the team, or the quality of the system is really poor, or people are complaining, things like that. And so they asked me to take a look. And so what usually happens in that situation, and what happened was that they assigned me the role of tech lead, technical product manager, whatever as I say to them, like give me any form of authority within the group, because as I said, some people only respect authority. And in some cases they don't even respect authority, it's just that they won't even listen to you unless you have authority, and then we will talk about what happens usually afterwards. And so in this instance there was a team that had an existing tech lead working with a few developers, and the system was, quite frankly, it was really slow in terms of how far they could, how much they could ship, how long did it take, quality was poor, people were unhappy with them and how they ran things and so forth and so forth. And so what they did was that they made me the technical product manager for this product, and then the other person was supposed to be the tech lead. And then I joined. Usually it happens the same way. First day everybody's sort of happy, hey, welcome to the team, and so forth and so forth. And then we start working together, and then I start observing things. As I like to say, I take inventory for a little while. Like I don't suggest all that much in the beginning unless it's really critical. I try to just feel out the environment first, and I start picking up on a few things. And so I start introducing things like saying that, okay, we seem to have a problem with our quality. Let's talk about testing a little bit, because I like to use that as the first suggestion every single time. The reason being because it's the basics of the basics, and I usually argue to my managers and so forth that, and even to the teams themselves, if you talk to me about canary releases or more advanced ways of securing quality for your system, yet you have not even been able to figure out the basics, then I suggest we start with the basics, because I'm a strong believer of that. If I can't trust you to do a small thing, then I don't want to trust you, at least then I don't think I can trust you to do a big thing. Prove to me that you can handle a small thing, and then we can talk about the bigger things. And so what usually what happened was, as you probably expected. So now their deliveries take longer. They have to do something that they don't fully want, because, as I like to say, if you really did know what means that you have a quality system, you would already be doing this. This would not be a problem. It's literally, and I argue this happens all the time, it's literally like a fat person complaining that they're fat. And then the trainer says, you should try to eat a little bit less. And then they throw a fit over that they have to eat a little bit less. It really is down to what do you want to do? And that's why I need the authority. Because if I'm just a software, if I join a team and I'm just another software developer, I can't force them to do anything. And I can't get any backing on it from the managers. And so what now happens is that they start the same way. They try to explain that they are unhappy to me to my face in many cases, and in some cases they don't. And then when I say, yeah, I understand that this is not maybe what you want, but it is what's necessary to fix these problems, what they now do is they try to complain to my boss behind my back. And here's the thing that then happens. So now it becomes a game of Chinese whispers. And so while I am leading the team, the situation just keeps on degrading, because they are unhappy, they don't want to write tests, they don't think that the way that we do stand-ups and all this stuff, which they didn't do before, because they for some reason felt that it's not important to synchronize between their various developers and so forth, because they have adjusted to a way of working that does not give the results that are necessary. And then I come in and I suggest changes that they don't want, and they're accustomed to doing things the way that they want it to be done, or like their own personal way of doing it. And so my manager does the thing that now happens, which is, okay, my manager isn't in those meetings and have no idea who's telling the truths. And so I say, well, it's very easy for me to fix this situation. All I have to do is to not change anything at all and just approve things. That's all I have to do. Because the everybody's favorite manager or superior is the person who just says yes to everything and lets you do whatever the fuck you want. And in some cases that not even that works, because then if things continue being broken and bad and so forth, then they complain about that you're not doing anything. So it becomes this weird, as I like to say, it becomes basically politics. You're trying to make people like you, like a popularity contest. That's what's happening. And so I said to my manager very simply that I can continue in this team, but as you can imagine, these people are not going to change just because I'm here. Like, I can fix these problems and I can force them to do this, because as I said, I become a gatekeeper. That's what you're making me do. You're making me be a blocker for quality because you have hired the wrong people. And what I suggest to you is that you fire these people, like at least these individuals who are doing this, because they will never adjust without all of this complaining and so forth. And that's going to tear down the morale of the entire team, which was happening, where you started having hostilities and people were really getting to the point where they were almost offensive to me personally and to other people, because they didn't want to help out the junior. Or in the worst situation I had was one dude, he literally threw a fit over the fact that he had configured the entire system so that it was a .NET system, so it only worked with the Rider editor that he was using, and he was upset that we added a CI pipeline that ran just the .NET CLI to run the tests and so forth. And so now he expected, because his entire workflow was literally no automated pipelines or anything like that for the other team members. Everybody was supposed to do testing of the system and run things locally, and now there was a pipeline blocking him. So I changed his workflow, or I suggested change his workflow that he didn't want, which is literally standard practice in every single company that I have ever worked in and for every single team. But he has, for some reason, decided that that's not the case here. And so I suggest to change it, and he gets upset about it, goes to complain to my manager. My manager doesn't know what's going on. This is why I usually, and this is a tip to you guys, always, 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 always force your manager, if you're going to be in my situation, to be involved, so that they can be in the same chat, instant mention, whatever. Never communicate with people like this outside of the eyes of your manager, because it's a trust question. It basically comes down to, what did Fredrik say, what did the developer say, and what's going on. And since, as I said, my manager is going to get the complaints whether I like it or not, then, as I said to them, said to my manager, I don't feel like I have you have to have my back here. It's that simple. I can't change these people, but if you're not unwilling to either fire them or make sure that they comply with these requests and stop behaving in this way, then I don't want to be part of this. And so my manager does the thing that every manager does. They try to skirt around the issue because they don't want to take decisive action or so forth and so forth. So they make some vague promises that they're going to fix it. And then I do the thing that I always do when I've had enough. I set a timeline. I start looking for another job. Then I see who wins. What happens first? Do I leave this company or do they fix the issue? And let's just say that I left the company. So what I want you to take away from this is that toxic work environments are easy to get. For me specifically, the most recent ones is almost always related to that there is a low performing team or some team that has a poor something like that going on. My managers and so forth wants me to fix these things. I go in and I see that the reason why you have all these issues is because they don't even follow the basic practices of what most people would consider fairly reasonable requests. And then you start introducing those things, and then they start hating you for it because they have gotten used to collecting a paycheck and creating shit code. And they are okay with that because it's very convenient to them, because these other things actually require you to learn things and do things that you might not be used to. Classic one is I had a front-end developer who we had to fire basically because he felt that he didn't need to write any tests for the system that was broken all the time. And he flew a fit over it, and because he had never practiced it. And I said to him, and as I said the same to my manager, I can't take responsibility for that. You have skipped parts of what is within the responsibility of your role. If you haven't taken the time to learn how to write tests and ensure that the system is working, then I'm sorry, then you have to do that. And I don't frankly care if you do that in your spare time or if you do it here, but you have to be able to produce the results that we are looking for. If you can't, we have to get rid of you. And so they did, because in that scenario we couldn't fix it. And in many cases it is sadly the case that, as I said, managers don't want to hear this. They want you to fix, at least me, they want you to fix the people. And I say, I can put in the practices, I can make sure that everybody's doing the sort of things that are going to make the difference and so forth, and try to introduce the culture. But ultimately it comes down to the people. If you give me a bunch of people who hate my guts or who don't want to, like as I said, bitter seniors who they have decided how they want to work even though they're not getting the results, then I can't do anything about it. And so either I move or they move. And in many cases, I simply move on to the next thing. And when I have the option, I simply say, okay, cool. You're forcing me into this situation. I am now not going to take responsibility for anything that happens. I will just let them do what they want, because you as my manager, you're putting me in a situation where I have to force them to do something that they don't want to do. Yet you are not helping me make that happen. And that is a deal breaker for me. Then I might, because I don't want to become an enemy just because I'm doing something that you want to happen. You have to have my back. And quite a lot of managers, as I said, it's 50-50. Sometimes they will always say, yeah, of course we're going to back you up on this, and then the reality is that they don't. And then depending on the situation, if it's too late, I just look for another job, and if it's early enough, I just stop having opinions about how to do things, and then usually everything goes back to how it was before I joined. Have a great day.